Coming up on the show, increasing women's partnership in the markets. Although it is something worth encouraging, there continues to be hindrances to this.
There is definitely an impact, a positive one.
And we revisit production and events company Blue 17. Good evening and welcome to another episode of Business PNG, your weekly look at business news and updates. CPL Group expands once more with the opening of their new shopping mall at Waigani in Port Moresby last week. Waigani Central, as it is known, indicates just how willing the group has been in making further investments for the country, despite unfavorable economic conditions. The retail sector has been very active and expanding during the construction phase of the LNG project. But now, with this new investment, shoppers can indeed shop in world-class facilities.
POMSOC's registered CPL Group has added to its chain of retail operations a new mall built to world-class standards. Located in the heart of Waigani in Port Moresby and launched last week, the new shopping complex is a 20 million kina investment which consists of a 5,000 square meter lot, an investment believed to be the group's biggest in the retail sector. Waigani Central, as the complex is known, includes a stop-and-shop shopping center. The new supermarket is the 6th branch in the capital and houses various departmental sections. The supermarket offers a variety of retail goods from fresh produce to household goods and has been built as part of CPL's aim to provide affordable price on goods and services and, more importantly, create employment for Papua New Guineans. The supermarket alone created a total of close to 400 jobs in this investment alone, a number that is expected to increase by June when the other stores in the mega mall are expected to commence operations.
The old Air Niugini and Mondo's building, that's going to be converted into PNG's first department store where we are going to sell kids' clothing, men's and women's clothing, accessories, bags, shoes, belts. A proper department store is going to be in the ground floor, and we are going to have some sub-tenancies which will be a bank, and there may be another office space over there. The old store, the plans are to build a service station there, so we are in negotiation with people to build a service station and have a large homemaker style store. The homemaker store is a store selling white and brown goods.
CPL Group also has plans to build another department store in the same lot that will offer a variety of merchandise, and plans are already underway to turn the old stop-and-shop building into a service station. By June, the second Paradise Cinema is expected to open in the same complex, as well as another homemaker branch.
Cinema targeted opening is June, and the hardware of House Depot, that's the brand name, HAUSDEPOT, House Depot. House Depot's target opening is in June as well, first week of June.
CPL Group has been experiencing a healthy growth from 2008 till 2012, what could have been a direct result of the multi-billion kina LNG project. In 2008, the group had an annual turnover of about 200 million kina, and in 2012, the group closed its books with a turnover well over 360 million kina. In December 2012, CPL stocks were trading at 1 kina 55 toya on POMSOCs, but today the group's share price stands at 1 kina 94 toya. Ravi Singh told Business PNG last year that the group was not hugely affected by the depreciation of the kina due to sound investment strategies such as hedge funds that they had held overseas. Back at the new stop-and-shop supermarket, the lineup is quite colorful, with curious shoppers dropping in to check out what might be different about this new superstore. As shoppers in the country are getting more sophisticated and price-savvy, Stop-and-Shop continues to move towards a more world-class standard in PNG's retail sector.
Welcome back. You're watching Business PNG. Women's participation in businesses in the country has always been a concern, mainly due to a male-dominated culture. However, despite this, women still continue to be aggressively involved in businesses, but primarily in the informal sector. From selling Mary blouses to garden produce at the market, women's involvement has, however, increased, but the challenges still remain. Because of this, it is a bit more difficult for women to grow their capacity and even migrate their informal businesses over to the formal sector. Despite strong economic growth and the boom in PNG's extractive industries, there is still very little spillover to local communities, and even then, women still remain isolated from these benefits. It was estimated that 37% of the population remains in poverty, with most being in rural areas. In PNG, many important sources of income and livelihood, such as market trade, are regarded as informal, and more critically, the importance of the roles of the market and informal economy are not given due recognition.
I mean, you can only see it locally here when you drive around, all our women sitting with their roadside tables, selling, all this stuff that they need to sell, because at the end of the day, they use that to go home and feed the families. So without any statistics on PNG, I can say to you, just driving around and looking, and with the workshops that we've held, that women do have an effect on putting bread and butter on the table when they run informal business. Those ones that are sitting on the road in PNG, definitely they're having an effect in their households.
Trading in markets has been a predominant form of informal economic activity in PNG, and there is therefore a need to give priority to the development of the informal sector and the local economy. In a culturally and ecologically diverse society, a centralized marketing structure from producer to intermediate and retailers seemingly does not exist. Rather, it is the producer-sellers who play the major role in linking rural production and trade. Also in predominantly patriarchal societies, women's access to productive resources such as land and credit is hindered, which affects women's productivity. A report released yesterday, authored by former senior researcher at the National Research Institute, Dr. Yunjing Wang, reports on women's market participation and the potential for business advancement. The research identifies the linkages between rural production and markets, the barriers to advancement from petty trading to micro businesses, as well as the gap between policy promise and practice. A worrying finding suggests the high cost of transportation and market facilities. These constraints lead to deterioration in the quality of fresh produce, especially from long-distance transportation without cooler systems in place. Like transportation conditions, concerns about market facilities have existed for a long time. Necessary services such as toilet and water facilities and shelter from the sun are severely lacking in many markets.
There's really a massive urban informal participation in the economic activities. So it's to identify whether those massive rural informal economic development can be developed into more established business development, what kind of constraints and opportunities they have.
While women are the predominant players in informal markets, it is also common knowledge that the environment is usually unsafe and multiple forms of violence are carried out against women and girls, as they are particularly vulnerable to crime and abuse. Poor public services and infrastructure further puts women under various kinds of violence and reinforces women's dependence on male protection.
The physical perspective, the transportation, and if that is more efficient and safer, the market is more efficient, better environment, then I feel the barrier can be reduced significantly.
Apart from this, cultural factors also hinder development. As women feel obliged to provide for extended family members, these demands for goods and money from wantoks also constrains the women traders from saving or initiating ideas of more established business development. The government has already taken strong action to address the barriers faced by women and girls in the labor market and in business. However, more still needs to be done in terms of bridging the gap between informal and formal trade.
There is definitely an impact, a positive one, when you invest in women businesses. It's only common sense because women run homes. They manage the budget for the homes. So when they get into business, their first investment is back into their children and their families. So, you know, it does definitely have a positive effect.
For the informal economy, I argue that it's not a temporary phenomenon. It's going to be there for a long time. So the awareness and the recognition towards the contributions and the role of informal economy has to be realized. Because of this reason, the infrastructure towards the informal economy should be much improved.
Amongst the many challenges of doing business in PNG, there are some striving entrepreneurs who aim to succeed in their various journeys of business. In this Entrepreneur Engaged segment, we speak to Blue 17, a production and events company. Business PNG puts the spotlight on the very people who run the spotlights behind the scenes. Here are the owners of the Lights, Sounds and Events company.
Narai Barnum, Blue 17.
Elwin Agonia, Blue 17. It was just pretty much finding a gap where there wasn't really much focus in. The events that were happening were sporadic, just one every 3 months, every 4 months. And we thought, well, let's just, everybody was used to just like, oh, well, we'll just do this. Look, it's PNG, it doesn't matter if it's not sitting correctly, nobody's gonna notice. We wanted to change that attitude where, hey, if you're gonna do something, do it properly, or don't do it at all. And if we were gonna be involved, I'm sorry, but we're gonna do it properly. Yes, it'll probably cost you a little bit more to make sure that's fixed properly, but for safety's sake, it's gotta be done properly. Which is why we got into the game. Hey, let's do it properly. Let's show the rest of the world that we're up amongst the rest of the world. We're not just PNG, and we're not sitting in the caves and hanging candles and light bulbs anymore. We can make the lights move, we can make the sound awesome. So that's pretty much the reason why we wanted to get into the game, to take PNG to the next level, to appreciate what is out there in the outside world. And also for the international artists to come into PNG and say, oh, okay, yeah, you can do it.
We essentially started wanting to get into productions. So you have event management, and then you have your own event production. So a production would be something that you put together and create from scratch. You find the sponsors, you do. So a lot of the concerts would be classed as productions. A lot of events, fairs, festivals, that's a production. The guiding lights or rules that Elwin always instilled in us, in the team, was it's our reputation. If you do one thing wrong, you'll lose it. So we've always prided ourselves in our reputation and built on that. And that's what's gotten us job after job after job, and people kept coming back based on the reputation.
When it comes to planning an event, I'd say that's the biggest expense for us, because there's a lot of running around, driving around. Fuel's not cheap, particularly petrol. And then there's all the ancillary stuff that goes with it when it comes to executing the event, all the gaffer tape, batteries, those are little things, but if you actually don't plan for it or prepare, and then you get to the job site on the day, and like, oops, yeah, okay, anybody got a spare $200? We need to buy this, or those sort of things. But then there's all the phone calls you need to make to call suppliers, especially if it's a really big event and you have overseas suppliers, yes, that does take up a fair bit.
I suppose our biggest expenses are labour and the rentals, the leasing, the property prices at the moment. When we talk about rentals, we're not just talking about our offices, we're talking about the fact that we now have to think about our own staff, our team that come to work every day, our management team. As much as we're a small business, we've got to supply for them. We've got to go, we're not going to put them in some low-cost housing where the water doesn't work, or there's rats inside, or there's really not nice conditions, and pay 700 kina a week. I'd rather put them somewhere that's 1,500 kina a week and have them live nicely and come to work and give us their best. And I suppose our biggest advantage, well, not advantage, but saving grace has been the fact that we have the support of our team. We have a phenomenal team. One of the most difficult things in business, in small business, might be in business in general, but is finding the right people. Our most valuable resources, our most prized resources are our people and our equipment. We look after both of them, they look after us. So to answer, are we going to grow our numbers? With the plans we have, we'll have to grow our numbers, yes. But we're not just going to, we're going to grow with strategy. And it's going to be about the quality of the personnel. It's going to be about, yeah. We want to be a company that, we want to have a culture that everybody wants to work with. That's what we're going to grow. That's what we're going to grow. Our vision then was to set a new benchmark in events, in the events and events industry, to basically set a standard, a level of event and entertainment in Papua New Guinea. It was non-existent at that stage pretty much. We got in, we worked it, and we last year looked around us and went, whoa, okay. Whether or not we did it, it's happened. So what we were after was that it would be the norm for a client to turn around and ask, oh, can you find an event manager and get them to manage this, or can you hire some audiovisual equipment? We wanted it to be the norm for people to have decor set up in all their conferences and meeting, you know, to want it to look nice, to want it to be presented at a certain standard, and not just, oh yeah, you go in and those chairs are uncovered and just put the screens up and cords everywhere and doesn't matter that goes off during the show. We wanted it to be a certain level, but it's tough. It is not regular income. It is very sporadic income. You either have it or you don't, and you've really got to not want to be in it for the money. You've got to want to be in it for the reputation. You've got to want to have the reputation of perfection.
When the show is on and you're trying to troubleshoot, it's very hard unless you have them labeled, you see? So we know that's monitor send 3, send 2, and send 1.
6, higher.
Bit of a task to try and get it right. But all in all, it makes it much easier. So being on a digital console, we can pre-program the shows. Like each of the different singers, they have their own requirements on the monitors.
Because of how seamless we make an event look, the client doesn't realize how long it takes they pay us up until or for the event day. They don't pay us for the 1 to 2 week process of cleanup that it takes afterwards, but they expect all the equipment returned immediately. And that's one of the hardest things. And in the meantime, we're trying to still make money by having another job the week after that event. So we've got to juggle all these things, and you've got to be, we'd like to think that we are certainly we've got our systems together now, and that we are very competitive on a world market. We're a very competitive event management company. But that's been a struggle. That's been a lot of learnings. That's been a lot of not showing the client what's really going on behind the scenes. There's been a lot of we can do this. We know we can do this. We've got to find a way to do this. It doesn't matter how tough it is. Don't you let the client know that you're struggling with it. You find a way to do it, because where there's a will, there is a way, and there always is.
You can never give up. You can bash your head against a brick wall. You can try knocking on the doors. If they don't open, go to the next one, go to the next one, and just keep trying. People knock you down. They'll say stuff about you, but that's okay. All right, watch this space, because I will come back and I will kick harder. That's the way we do it.
And that's all we have for you tonight. For any comments or suggestions, or for any information that you would like to share with us, email us now on the address shown on your screen. For more business news, or if you would simply like to view this episode again, visit the MTV website. That's mtv.com.pg/business. Don't forget to connect with us using our Facebook or Twitter page. Until next week, have a pleasant evening. I'm Leanne Jarari, and this is Business PNG.